From 2018 to 2020, you were told a story. A story about a trade war. America versus China. Headlines screamed about tariffs. Politicians promised to bring jobs back home. The message from Washington was loud and clear: we are finally fighting back. It was a good story, a convincing performance. But behind the curtain, the real story was being written, not by politicians, but by the people who actually control the system. BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. While you were watching the political theater, they were quietly moving money. Not a little, a lot. $1.4 trillion. They poured $1.4 trillion into China. And the peak of this flood of cash wasn't before the trade war or after. It was 2020, the absolute height of the conflict. Think about what this means. America's government is telling you to fight China. America's military is preparing for confrontation. America's media is warning about Chinese threats. And at the exact same moment, America's largest financial institutions are flooding Chinese markets with record amounts of capital. This looks like madness. It looks like a betrayal. It looks like the system is broken. It's not. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a miscalculation. It wasn't confusion about politics. It was the single most predictable move in modern financial history. Because the people who run the world don't follow the news. They don't care about political narratives. They follow a pattern, a 300-year-old blueprint for shifting wealth and power between nations. A pattern that has destroyed every reserve currency in recorded history. A pattern that is designed to be invisible to you. And once you see it, the entire game changes. You stop believing the headlines. You stop trusting the official story. You understand that what you're watching is theater. And the real wealth transfer is happening behind a curtain.
The financial world runs on a mechanism. Not chaos, not randomness, not accident. A mechanism. And this mechanism has a pattern. A four-stage pattern that repeats itself across centuries. It's destroyed every single reserve currency in recorded history. Stage 1. Financial elites create a monopoly on money printing. They do this through a central bank. The government grants them exclusive power to create currency. This looks like progress, like stability. It's the beginning of the trap. Stage 2. They use this monopoly to finance government expansion through debt. The government needs money for wars, for programs, for empire building. The central bank prints it. The government spends it. Everyone thinks they figured it out. The economy booms. The empire expands. This stage feels like victory. Stage 3. The system overextends. The government keeps spending. The central bank keeps printing. But at some point, the math breaks. There's too much currency chasing too few goods. Inflation accelerates. The currency starts losing value. Cracks appear in the system. People start asking questions. Stage 4. And this is the crucial part. The same people who built the system move their money to the next rising power, before the collapse is obvious to everyone else. The population gets left holding worthless paper. This isn't theory. This isn't speculation. This is what happened to Britain. This is what happened to Germany. This is what happened to America after 1971. And it's happening right now. We are in stage 3 of 4. The debt is exploding. The currency is being debased. And the architects of the system are already positioning themselves for stage 4. This is not a prediction. This is pattern recognition. And understanding this pattern is the only way to see what's actually happening while it's still happening.
Imagine a river. Not a dramatic river with a waterfall, just a regular river, flowing through a landscape. The river doesn't look powerful. It doesn't look dangerous. It's just water. But give it time. Give it decades. Give it centuries. That river will cut through a mountain. Not through force. Not through violence. Through persistence. Every single day, the water flows. Every single day, it carries away a tiny amount of rock. So small you can't see it. So gradual you can't measure it in real time. But the cumulative effect is inevitable. The mountain erodes. The river carves a canyon. The landscape transforms. This is how the four-stage mechanism works. It's not a sudden collapse. It's not a dramatic crash. It's a gradual, invisible transfer of wealth and power. Stage 1 and 2 look like success. The empire grows. The economy expands. Everyone believes the system works. But underneath, the river is flowing. The debt is accumulating. The currency is being debased. The foundation is being eroded. By the time stage 3 arrives, the damage is already done. The cracks are visible, But most people still don't understand what's happening. And by stage 4, when the financial elites have already moved their capital to the next power center, the population finally realizes. But it's too late. The mountain has already been carved. The canyon is already there. And the river has moved on. This is the mechanism. Invisible, inevitable, unstoppable. And it's flowing right now.
Britain, 1815. The Napoleonic Wars are over. Britain is exhausted. The national debt is massive. But Britain has a solution. The Bank of England. Here's how it works. The bank loans the government money at interest. The government creates debt. The bank turns that debt into currency that circulates through the economy. The wealthy subscribers to the bank collect interest on the nation's entire money supply. Stage 1 complete. Within 4 years, Britain's national debt explodes from £1.2 million to £16 million. By 1815, after financing the Napoleonic Wars through continuous money printing, the debt hits £885 million. The lenders don't just profit, they own the British government. Stage 2 kicks in immediately. Britain builds the world's largest navy, colonizes half the planet. The pound becomes the global reserve currency. International trade runs on British pounds. Foreign governments hold pounds as reserves. Everything looks unstoppable. Britain is on top of the world. But here's what most people don't know. By the mid-1800s, the cracks start showing. British industrial production peaks and begins declining relative to Germany and America. The cost of maintaining a global empire grows faster than Britain can afford. The debt starts climbing again. And this is where it gets interesting. The same financial institutions that built the British system start moving their money to America. British capital pours into American railroads, American steel, American industry. The Rothschilds finance American expansion. By the time Britain officially abandons the gold standard in 1931, by the time the pound collapses as the reserve currency, the architects have already rebuilt the exact same system in New York. They moved the money before the collapse. Stage 4 executed perfectly. The British population didn't understand what was happening. They thought their empire was permanent. They thought their currency would always be valuable. They were wrong.
And the same pattern is repeating right now.
Germany, 1923. The Treaty of Versailles demands 132 billion gold marks in reparations. The government faces a choice: raise taxes or print money. They choose the printing press. The Reichsbank starts monetizing government debt, paying striking workers, funding social programs, keeping the political coalition together. The money supply goes absolutely insane. May 1923, 8.6 billion marks. June, 17 billion. August, 669 billion. November, 400 quintillion. $1 buys 4.2 trillion German marks. A wheelbarrow of cash won't buy a newspaper. Workers get paid by the hour because their wages are worthless by the end of their shift. The middle class gets wiped out. Savings evaporate overnight. But here's the part they don't teach you. This was an accidental policy failure. Rudolf Havenstein, the Reichsbank president, deliberately bought foreign currency with marks at any price. The government claimed this was necessary to pay reparations. British and French advisors said it was deliberate currency destruction. Later records confirmed it. The hyperinflation was useful. It eliminated domestic war debts. It destroyed the politically inconvenient middle class. When the crisis peaked, when Germany introduced the rent mark in November 1923, the solution required American loans. The Dawes Plan of 1924 brought Wall Street into Germany. U.S. money flooded in through the late 1920s. American banks and corporations gained massive exposure. Then when that system collapsed in the early 1930s, those same American financial institutions were already positioned for the next phase. Same pattern, different century. Now fast forward to 1944. Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Representatives from 44 nations create a new monetary order. The US dollar gets pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. Every other currency pegs to the dollar. Foreign central banks can redeem their dollars for physical gold. The dollar becomes the global reserve currency backed by the largest gold reserves in history at Fort Knox. For 2 decades, it works. Europe and Japan rebuild. The dollar circulates globally. American economic dominance is total. But then the US starts using its ability to print the reserve currency to finance the Vietnam War the Great Society programs, the Cold War military buildup, all without raising taxes. Dollars flood into foreign central banks. By 1971, there are way more dollars circulating than the U.S. has gold to back them. France sees what's happening. Under President Charles de Gaulle, they start demanding gold for their dollars. August 15th, 1971, Sunday evening. Nixon goes on TV and announces the U.S. is temporarily suspending dollar convertibility to gold. That temporary measure is still in effect today. The Bretton Woods system collapsed. In the same pattern that moved British capital to America, that moved American capital into Weimar Germany, that moved capital out of the U.S. as Bretton Woods failed, is now moving capital into China.
Let's apply this pattern to what's happening right now. July 6th, 2018. Trump imposes the first tariffs on Chinese goods, $34 billion worth. The trade war officially begins. America's finally going to stand up to China, rebalance trade, bring manufacturing back. Both parties support it. The establishment is united. But July 6th, 2018 is significant for another reason. It's exactly 1 month after June 1st, 2018. The day MSCI, the company that controls global investment indices, officially started including Chinese A-shares in its emerging markets index. Think about what this means. When MSCI includes a market in its indices, institutional investors who track those indices must put money into that market. Pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, university endowments, insurance companies, trillions of dollars that simply follow the index. China's weight in the MSCI Emerging Markets Index went from essentially 0 to 43% by October 2020. During the same period, 2018 through 2020, U.S. portfolio investment in China hit $1.4 trillion. The peak year? 2020, trade war at its hottest. BlackRock expanded its Chinese operations throughout this entire period. JP Morgan got approval for a majority-owned securities business in China. Goldman Sachs increased its stake in its Chinese joint venture. These aren't accidents. These are the same institutional structures that operated through Britain, through Germany, through post-war America. And they're executing stage for right now. Let's check the boxes. U.S. national debt, $36 trillion. Debt to GDP ratio, 98%. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet was under $1 trillion in 2008. It exploded to $9 trillion during COVID, still above $7 trillion today. Same mechanism as always. Central bank monetizes government debt. Government spends far beyond what taxes can cover. Currency supply expands way beyond the economy's productive capacity. And the financial institutions that run this process start moving capital to the next power center. Stage 1. Federal Reserve established 1913. Stage 2. Decades of debt monetization, financing wars and programs globally. Stage 3. System overextended, debt at 98% of GDP, currency debasing. Stage 4. Financial institutions moving capital to China while Washington performs theater. We're here right now.
The trade war was theater. It was designed to fail. Or more precisely, it was designed to appear as if America was resisting while the actual financial integration accelerated. You cannot fight China with tariffs while your largest financial institutions are moving record amounts of capital into Chinese markets. You cannot reshore manufacturing while the index providers who control institutional capital allocation are increasing China's weight in global portfolios. You cannot maintain dollar hegemony while running trillion-dollar deficits financed by central bank money printing. The contradiction is not an accident. It is the mechanism. The British population did not understand in 1880 that their capital was building America. The German population did not understand in 1929 that American banks had facilitated their hyperinflation cycle. The American population does not understand now that Wall Street is building China's financial infrastructure while Washington performs resistance. But the pattern does not require your understanding. It simply executes. The politicians argue about tariffs. Think tanks debate decoupling strategies. The media obsesses over trade war optics. And while everyone watches the political theater, the systematic wealth transfer occurs behind it. $1.4 trillion has already moved. The index providers have already repositioned global capital. The financial institutions have already built their infrastructure in China. The pattern is 3/4 through its execution, and most people still think the trade war was about trade. They think the politicians are actually fighting. They think the system is broken because it's not working as advertised. But the system is working exactly as designed. It's just not designed for you.
It's designed for the architects.
The ones who understand the pattern, the ones who move first, the ones who are already positioned for what comes next.
So what do you do with this information? You understand that the machine is already in motion. You understand that by the time this becomes obvious to the mainstream, the repositioning will already be complete. You understand that the current system, the dollar as reserve currency, American financial dominance, the post-Bretton Woods order is not permanent. It is stage 3 of a 4-stage pattern, and stage 4 is executing right now. You position yourself accordingly. You understand that holding assets denominated purely in a debasing currency is a choice to participate in the transfer mechanism. You understand that the inflation is not temporary. It's not transitory. It's not the result of supply chain disruptions. It is the predictable outcome of monetary expansion disconnected from productive growth. You understand that when they tell you not to worry, that this time is different, that modern financial engineering has solved the problems that destroyed previous systems. They are either ignorant of the pattern or complicit in its execution. And you understand that the next 5 to 10 years will not look like the last 30. The mechanism is accelerating. The debt cannot be repaid. The currency will continue to debase. The financial elite are already positioned. The only question is whether you understand the pattern clearly enough to see it happening in real time and make decisions that account for the inevitable outcome. This is not prediction. This is pattern recognition. The same mechanism that moved British capital to America in the 19th century, the same mechanism that moved American capital into Weimar Germany before the collapse, the same mechanism that moved capital out of the US as Bretton Woods failed, is moving capital into China right now. While politicians argue about tariffs, while think tanks debate decoupling strategies, while the media obsesses over trade war optics, Wall Street has already decided. $1.4 trillion has already moved. And the pattern, which has never failed to complete itself, is 3/4 through its execution. If you want to understand what happens next, if you want to know how the final stage of this pattern completes, if you want to see how the transition from American to Chinese financial dominance finalizes, you need to understand how the machine was built. You need to see the institutional architecture that makes this transfer possible. And you need to recognize that every historical parallel points to the same outcome. The population holds the currency as it approaches zero, while the architects of the system have already moved their wealth to the next power center. That is the pattern, that is the mechanism, and that is what is happening right now. Subscribe to Mac Invest to see how the machine was built, how it operates in practice, and what the completion of stage 4 looks like when it arrives. Because it is arriving, and unlike every time before, this time you have the opportunity to see the pattern while it is still executing rather than understanding it only after the collapse is complete.